Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy JD. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you've all had a great weekend. In this episode today, we're going to be taking a look at a debate that was held on GB News surrounding all things to do with woke culture, woke ideology, and we're going to be reacting to this because a woman on the debate that goes by the name of Paola Diana absolutely destroys another person in the debate, a woke activist that goes by the name Peter Tatchell. Yeah, it's not the first time I've covered a debate where he gets shown up. The conversation they all have, obviously, is a big topic though. We see how woke culture is dominating society right now. You can't say this, you can't say that, you have to be tolerant of every single thing. You have to be okay with your kids being indoctrinated at school. You have to be okay with men competing in women's sports because it's all about how they feel and other people's feelings. You have to be okay with men winning Woman of the Year. You have to be okay with absolutely everything. And it's turned the world upside down. It is crazy out there, right? And we have people trying to convince everybody that left is right and 2 + 2 = 5. And obviously, if you care about these issues, you stand up against them, what are you? Well, you're far right. You're mean, you're hateful, you're a bigot, etc., etc. The list goes on and on and on. So I like to see shows talk about these issues, and the more shows that talk about them, obviously more and more people become aware of what is going on. Now, this debate is around 11 minutes long, and trust me, I wish I could cut some of it down, but what this woman ends up saying, Paola Diana, boy, you are going to want to hear. She goes off, man, and I wish more and more people stood up and said the stuff she is saying, had her attitude towards what is going on within society right now. But this debate starts off by talking about a recent situation that went down involving a woman called Rachel McLean, who called a Green Party candidate who goes by the name Melissa Poulton, a male identifying as a woman, a man who wears a wig and calls himself a quote-unquote proud lesbian. Now, obviously, in England, the UK, when a comment like this is made, as you would imagine, all the groups come out. They can't handle such a comment, they really can't, yet they're always screaming that their speech is being taken away, yet they want others, women, men, to be silent on these issues. They don't want people saying stuff like this. Yeah, so freedom of speech only exists on one side of the political spectrum, as always, and the mainstream media, as always, support it. So she was labelled a bigot. This is hate speech. Yeah, so it's a hot topic right now, and they start off this debate that we're going to be reacting to, asking if what she said was just so wrong. Should she say something like that? But before we get into this one and react to this debate, if you could, make sure to leave a like rating, as it really helps out the video. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications, comment on this video, share this video, and nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get into it.
I'll go to you first, Peter. We saw earlier this week a colleague of mine, Rachel McLean, made a comment about a political candidate who was is a man, but is now identifying as a woman. And I think the comment was something like, "It's a man in a wig."
Facts.
Is that an acceptable comment?
I think it's a pretty outrageous and offensive comment, particularly because she was attacking the Green Party candidate, Melissa Poulton, who had, on social media, supported the 50-50 campaign to get more women MPs in Parliament. She was encouraging women to stand for Parliament. And that's a very important good cause, because although women constitute 52% of our population, only 35% of MPs are women. So what Melissa Poulton was doing was really good and really positive. And I think to make that cheap jibe by Rachel McLean against her because of who she is and the way she looks, I think that was really offensive and uncalled for.
What doesn't make sense to me is apparently what this political candidate is doing, this male identifying as a woman is doing, is great. He's standing up for the issue of women being more present in Parliament, yet he's potentially going to take a place away from women being in Parliament, etc., etc. How does that make any sense? So to cover what is going on, because what that male stands for is actually taking rights away from women. What Peter Tatchell was saying, no, he's doing great things for women. He's standing up for women while in the process actually negatively affecting women. I'm losing my mind already. What?
Paola, is it a cheap jibe, or is there some merit in what Rachel
I'm afraid I disagree completely with what Peter says, because we all know that men who identify as women, because I don't use gendered language at all, well, these men are actually stealing the seats from other women.
Exactly.
In 2023 in the United States, the best female cyclist is a man. The best female runner is a man. The best female swimmer is a man. And the woman of the year, a man. Tampax, Nike, Maybelline, they all used men to promote female products.
But why, Paola?
It is a women's rights problem. So this man, who is now, I drew something for you to explain why gender is a problem for women's rights. She came ready for this. First of all, we have to identify that gender is, and gender ideology is different based on age and based on sex. So biological sex, here are older men. Older men are affected by this ideology, but it's mainly a sex fetish for them. They're called AGP because they're affected by autogynephilia. While old women, you can all see here, they're not affected at all. No older woman.
Hang on, with respect, we're getting away from the core issue, which is better women's representation in Parliament. That's why. That's why this is your vote.
Calm things down a bit, Paola.
So he's not comfortable with the stuff she's saying it's hit enough, and he wants to take it back to the original part they were talking about. No, we can't go down this route because you might actually expose some of the stuff that's going on. Talk about how this male identifying as a woman is doing great things for women.
It's very important. No, it's very important that we talk also about children and young adults, because gender ideology is affecting children's rights as well.
Yes, but Simon's looking very lonely there in the middle. Simon, just chip in with us.
And between these two, well, I think this is a really interesting analysis. In terms of Rachel McLean, I think she has the right to say what she wants. There is clearly a distinction between trans women and women, and it's right and proper to draw a distinction between the two. You can't just this Melissa person you can't just put an ill-fitting wig on, some lipstick, call yourself Melissa, and then expect everybody to buy into you being a woman.
It's true. It's true. You know, how many videos do we talk about where people just put the wigs on, put the nails on, dress up as a woman, wear the handbag, and then they think everybody should validate them in calling them a woman? That does not make you a woman. The exterior doesn't make you a woman. It's the interior, which, by the way, you cannot change.
Exactly. It's just not, you know, you're away with the fairies if you think the general public buy into that. They just don't.
Well, that's interesting. Away with the fairies, ill-fitting wig. Is Simon right, Peter?
But why move away from the issue that Melissa was rightly highlighting, the underrepresentation of women in Parliament? She was making the case for more women MPs, and instead of addressing that issue, Rachel McLean chose to make a mockery of the way she looks and her gender identity.
No. You don't like what is being said right now. You know you're out of your depth here because what they're saying is true, and you have no counter argument, so you're just going to revert back to, no, they're doing good things for women. Yeah, we get it. Women may be underrepresented in Parliament. But it doesn't make sense for a male identifying as a woman to sit there and say, I am standing up for this issue, because he is doing what he is claiming to be pushing back against. How does that make sense? And you saying making a mockery of his gender identity. No, what he's doing by putting on a wig and claiming to be a woman is making a mockery of all women. How dare you say somebody is making a mockery of something when they are, for everybody to see, making a mockery of women by just putting on a wig and then crying when somebody calls them out for it.
Now, Simon is absolutely right. There is an absolute distinction between women and trans women. They're not the same. One is based on chromosomal sex, the other is based on gender identity. They are different, but equally valid. Yep. And I think we need to not confuse the two. Sex and gender identity are two different things, and my view is live and let live.
Paola, I can see the cogs rolling round. You want to come back on that,
It's a huge women's rights problem, Lee.
Yeah.
And we have to address it as it is. So this type of men, they're stealing women's seat. So it's a mockery that this Melissa man, who is a he, is talking about women's rights. Yeah. Because if he eventually will be elected, he's stealing a woman's place.
Exactly, it doesn't make sense.
So it has to be very clear that gender ideology, that is the ideology behind this behavior, is promoting fetish and is harming children, because they need young people and children to believe in gender ideology that is a fantasy in order to validate their fetish. So a mother like me wants to be called a mother, not a birthing person, because these people use this language.
Go off.
Okay? They use chest breeder. No, I'm a mother. I feed my babies, okay? I'm a woman. I'm not an uterus haver, a cervix haver, or all this language. Sorry for the word, but this is the reality. It's a nonsense language. And I urge each one of you, particularly if you're a father or a mother, to don't use gender language.
This is what we need more of. This woman ain't taking nothing anymore. She's not having it. All right, she's standing up for herself and other women. She will not be reduced to these words like chest feeding, uterus haver, birthing person. We should not be using these words. It shouldn't even be a discussion. Some places out there will have to force mothers to use these terms to validate 0.01% of the population.
If you use it, you're validating validating these ideologies that is highly dangerous.
Surely,
and erasure of female identity.
Paola's got a point that this man, and let's be clear, most people will think he is a man with a wig on. Whether it's ill-fitting or not, I don't know. But it is a man with a wig on, identifying as a woman. Is he stealing women's jobs and women's rights?
This is a storm in a teacup.
Of course.
Okay. There are no trans women in Parliament.
I guarantee you that they said the same thing about sports many years ago. No, there's no men in women's sports. Everybody ignored it. It continued to go on and on and on. And now look at the point we have now reached. You give people that inch, they will then take a mile. And of course, as we move forward into this liberal society, we are going to have more and more men identifying as women going into politics. It is a given. You can see it happening, especially under parties like the Green Party, like the Labour Party. It will increase.
The idea that somehow women MPs are under threat, that is a nonsense. It's a scaremongering tactic, and I think it does not befit a democratic parliament and a democratic people to demonise trans people when there is no threat to women's seats.
But it's becoming increasingly serious because Labour's proposals, what they are contemplating is making it an offence, an aggravating offence, to label somebody incorrectly. And that is a serious issue. I would be totally opposed to such legislation, but they are contemplating, if they get into power, making it an aggravating offence to misgender somebody.
That's crazy, you know, and I covered that situation a couple of weeks ago now, or a few weeks ago now in a separate video, but there was a rumour going around that if Labour get into power, which they are going to, it is most likely that they will become the next government in control. They want to put in a law where if somebody gets misgendered, that person that does the misgendering can be punished in some way. I think the rumour was they could face up to 2 years in jail or something. And then we had others like J.K. Rowling talk about, well, I'll happily go into jail to not reaffirm delusion, which I completely agree with her. You know, nobody should be forced to reaffirm this insanity that is going on.
And that's where Rachel McLean would then have a serious problem.
Exactly. Thank you,
and that's totally wrong.
Thank you.
I'm also against criminalisation, but I think it's just common decency to be respectful of other people. Even if we disagree with them, just show respect and kindness. There's too much hate and prejudice in this world.
You mean like the Be Kind Brigade always do? You're not going to force me to sit there and ignore my own eyes and my own ears and my own thoughts just to be kind. Because then I'm playing along then. People are playing along if they do the same.
No, this is an excuse.
Paola, you're a woman.
I reject gender language.
Okay, so
put me in prison.
It's hard for us, but it's difficult for me to know how furious you are being a woman. You can have babies, you can feed babies, you can do all that. How difficult is it to accept this? Well, you can't accept this nonsense.
I can't. It's nonsense. And many women like me, and also men, are opposing this nonsense. The Labour Party doesn't know still, but he will see that we are fighting back. We will fight back in the streets, in the toilets, in the single-sex spaces. We will not let this nonsense
like Churchill.
win.
Sounds like a Churchill speech, that does.
Never.
This is what
Peter,
we need.
I mean, we see this, Melissa. You know, back in the day, years and years ago, if people had been hanging around with men, especially with wigs on, and going into women's changing rooms and women's safe spaces, they'd have been locked up.
Yeah.
Well, hang on. Women have been going into, trans women have been going to women's spaces for decades without a problem. I've got a friend who works in a women's centre in the north of England. That centre, with the agreement of both the staff and the women users, has accepted trans women for 7 years. There's never been a problem. to do this, to demonize people. You think of someone great like Jan Morris, the great trans explorer, journalist, and so on, to insult her in this way, and the memory of so many other trans women who've done amazing, wonderful things, I think it's just wrong, and it's not compatible with a kind, generous, compassionate society.
There's a firm shake of the head here, Paola.
Yes, this is an excuse. This is a way to silence women. They used to to the stake. Now they try to cancel us on social media. They try to silence us using this be kind tactic. You know what, Lee? I'm very kind and I'm very compassionate. And that's why I care for these children who are castrated. I care for these children who have their mutilated, okay? Healthy. And they're sterilized in the name of an ideology that never affected children and young adults ever in history. When they tell you that there were many trans people in history, they're lying to you. You know what was affecting this, who was affecting this ideology? Only few old men. And they were called trans. That's it. It's only because of online and social media that now in the Western countries we have this social contagion. And we have to address it before it will destroy our society, our family values and women's rights.
What a speech, man. And she hits the nail on the head on so many issues there. Man, to see women stand up for this in this way is absolutely amazing. We need more and more of this, men and women, to say exactly the same in a public debate. The more people that come out with this and aren't scared to say it for what it is, the more things change, you know. And she is right. If we don't address these issues that are going on, it will erode family values, which some would say is the agenda anyway, because a lot of people involved with this ideology don't like the idea of the nuclear family. Okay, so maybe that is one of the agendas anyway. But family values cannot be eroded. There's not much I really have to say because she says everything there.
Paola, Simon, do you want to come back on that?
Yeah, well, I agree with Paola. In terms of young people, it's gone far too far. It is challenging. I mean, the ability for children to have medical interventions is wholly inappropriate, and I think we'll look back in years to come. We'll look back in years to come and think that's been a big mistake.
So a bit one-sided, this. Probably Peter on his own on this one. Peter, final 20 seconds.
Children are not being medically and surgically changed. There's no surgical abuse of removal of breasts or
hormonal
genitals
therapy
and so on. That is not happening.
What do you mean
it's illegal in this country. Plus, some young people, a small number, are receiving hormone therapy, but it's reversible. It is done with in 99% of cases, it's done with parental consent after many years of counselling and support.
Yeah, well, in my opinion, this man got absolutely wrecked. There was not much he could really say back to what this woman was saying, what Paola was saying. Absolutely amazing. And obviously, you know, a lot of the debate, he reverted back to saying, no, what this man is doing, because it is a man, what this man is doing for women is great. He's standing up for more women, whilst at the same time, potentially taking a place away from women. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But I want to hear your guys' thoughts on this debate that just took place. What are your thoughts on this woman? Paola, man, she calls it, she says it for what it is. And it's great to see. Leave your thoughts down below. If you're new, hit that subscribe button, turn on bell notifications, comment on this video, share this video. But until next time, it has been your boy JD. Have a great day, stay safe, and I'm out. Peace.